balls and a strike to count on Taylor. Reyes fires, swinging a drive, deep left field. It's his way back. Walk the ball. Chris Taylor.
Saturday, December 9th will go down as one of the craziest, probably one of the greatest non-game days in Dodgers history, because breaking news from the man himself, Shohei Ohtani is a Los Angeles Dodger, a 10-year, $700 million contract. We'll get into the details. There's deferrals that were his idea to help the team. We're going to get into everything, but he reported this himself. The text messages start flooding in. Blake, I'll start with you. You, I believe, predicted Saturday. You threw out a $700 million number that I made fun of you for. Ohtani's a Dodger.
Yeah, it's crazy that it happened. Like, I think we all knew it was going to happen. And then, of course, Toronto kind of made their push, and maybe we got a little nervous. I know Matt's going to join later here, but he was the one predicting Toronto to Canada from us. So to see it actually happen, it's really exciting. It's great for the Dodgers. It's great for the city. It's great for baseball in general to keep Ohtani in Los Angeles and big market. He's going to be playing with stars. He's going to be on the big stage in the postseason every year. And I know 700 million seems like a crazy amount, but he's worth it. Like, you can think of this as 35 million as a pitcher, 35 million as a hitter. And it's just really exciting. It's hard to put it into words. And yeah, Ohtani's a Dodger.
Daniel, give me your, 700 million. Like, the Cubs reportedly were out at 500 million, and they were one of the 5 teams that were supposed finalists. 700 million. Just give me your reaction to that number.
Insane. I mean, in a good way. First of all, congrats to Shohei. Congrats to his agent for working out this deal. I know we all knew Shohei was going to get a fat contract. I don't know if any of us thought that 700 million was a possibility. So congrats to him. Obviously, he's been working his whole life to get to this point. This was pretty much his first real his first real opportunity to get paid since he came over early, and his deal with the Angels, wasn't a big deal because of the CBA and whatnot. But wow, this is just insane. Obviously, it's been the last 24 hours or so have been an absolute roller coaster. I'd say the last year has been an absolute roller coaster. I know we all weren't happy with the offseason the Dodgers had last year, with the trade deadline they had, but it was always with this in mind. This was the plan all along. So congrats to Shohei, and congrats to all of us, because we're going to get to watch him every night for the next 10 years, along with Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman.
Scott, I think the part to me that almost makes this so sweet is the roller coaster we went through yesterday. There's a report that comes out from JP Hoonstra in the morning saying the wait is over. Shohei Ohtani is going to be a Toronto Blue Jay. We have people tweeting about some crazy flight. John Morosi, who's the first reputable source to kind of chime in, says he's on the flight. And then all of a sudden, everybody's like, no, nothing is done. And no, he's not on this plane. And yet there was all this smoke around Toronto. He went and visited. And so I've maintained my position, Scott, all along, that trust nothing. Daniel and I have been firmly on when Jeff Passan confirms it, we'll believe it. Now, if Ohtani, when he posts on his Instagram, that's a reputable source, I think, as well. But Scott, give me just the roller coaster of emotion, as we're here with over 1,000 people live, and that number is only going to grow over the next 45 minutes. Give me the roller coaster of emotions to literally 24 hours ago. There was a report that Ohtani to the Blue Jays was done. 24 hours later, he himself confirms he's going to be a Dodger.
Exactly that. Just a roller coaster, up, down, up, down. I know, what happened to those sources? I don't know. So it just, wow. Ohtani's a Dodger, guys. We did it. To this moment, everything that's gone on, every single bit, the rumors and absolutely, pure speculation, that's exactly what Ohtani wanted. He wanted nothing out there. And now that we're at this point, it just feels like, man, for it to come from just himself, man, 700 million, man. He's a Dodger. So yesterday was a lot. It was just tracking the flight, going through that. That's just a whole big old deal in itself. We didn't even know it was on there. I know I saw Buster only talk about Ohtani's dog. It's just a whole thing. So the depths that we went to get to this point.
Yeah.
Here we are, man.
There were some dark moments for sure. Let me read the extent of Ohtani's Instagram post, because I think it's worth He said, to all the fans and everyone involved in the baseball world, I apologize for taking so long to come to a decision. By the way, you're going to get to know Ohtani the person. By all accounts, that first sentence is a perfect summation of who he is. He starts this whole process by apologizing for taking so long. He continues, I have decided to choose the Dodgers as my next team. It tells you he's a smart person there. So we've got compassion and empathy in sentence number 1, intelligence in number 2. He said, first of all, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to everyone involved with the Angels organization and the fans who have supported me over the past 6 years, as well as to everyone involved with each team that was a part of this negotiation process, especially to the Angels fans who supported me through all the ups and downs. Your guys' support and cheer meant the world to me. The 6 years I have spent with the Angels will remain etched in my heart forever. And to all Dodgers fans, I pledge to always do what's best for the team and always continue to give it my all to be the best version of myself. Until the last day of my playing career, I want to continue to strive forward not only for the Dodgers, but for the baseball world. There are some things that cannot be conveyed in writing, so I would like to talk more about this again at a later press conference. It's astonishing. Like everything, Blake, I read this and it gets better. Like the fact that he begins by apologizing is crazy. It's crazy to me. I mean, like this is summation of who he is as a person, as incredible as he is as a hitter, as incredible as he is as a pitcher. The fact that this is like Freddie Freeman, like Mookie Betts, like Clayton Kershaw, guys that you just don't have to worry about. And they're guys you're proud to sort of put on a jersey of them. Blake, you've already committed to buying an Ohtani jersey, I believe. I can't speak highly enough about how excited I am for the player and the person, and the way this Instagram post to me, like, just is the exclamation point on my excitement.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's part of the reason why the Dodgers were willing to commit this much money to him. Like, of course, he's a great player and he's going to be great for marketing and bringing in more revenue. But at the same time, he's also the type of person that they look to sign. Like you said, he is similar to Freddie Freeman and Mookie Betts in that sense. And those are the players the Dodgers are willing to give these big contracts to, because they're betting on the person. It's something Dave Roberts said, like, he's not going to pitch this year, but they're betting on him to get back next year because they know his work ethic and they just know who he is as a person. So when you don't have to be worried about what the player is going to be doing down the line, and you just know they're going to work hard and do the right things, like, that's the player you can feel comfortable paying all this money to.
Alden Gonzalez just reporting, and this is going to be a surprise based on conversations we've had. There are no opt-outs in Shohei Ohtani's deal with the Dodgers. So that was one of the fears, was they're going to sign him, and then it's going to be an opt-out after 3 years, an opt-out after 5 years. Scotty, I see you getting fired up. There are no opt-outs in Shohei Ohtani's deal. He's a Dodger for the next 10 years.
I got to mute. That's just wild, man. No opt-outs. He's here. Like, this is the place he wanted to be. Every single thing. Dodgers check every single box.
Yeah. Every
single box for what he was rumored to put out there for. Sustainability, winning franchise from top to bottom. He's a structured guy. It's everything. This is it. This is all those years led up to it. Okay. People not trusting Andrew Friedman. He pulled through. He did it. Man, he did it,
all
man.
Right. Well, hey, it's a special occasion, and as we near 2,000 people live in the stream, it feels like a first time here is there's a first time for everything. We're gonna go 5 boxes here. Matthew Moreno,
there he is.
Matt,
the whole squad ready.
There you go. Jeff Passan's got the details. 10 years, $700 million. It's the largest guarantee in sports history. So there's no opt-outs. The other detail that Passan includes, there are significant deferrals that include most of his salary. An idea, a source said, was Ohtani's. By deferring the money, it reduces the cost of the CBT tax hit and will allow the Dodgers to build a better team around him. I mean, Ohtani's a Dodger. No opt-outs. He's deferring the money to help the team. Matt, where do the positives end with this story?
Yeah, that's certainly impressive. And I think on one hand, it's not necessarily a surprise from the standpoint of, if you look back 6 years ago when he was posted, like, his initial contract with the Angels was capped because of his age and international experience at the time. So, he kind of forfeited a bunch of money there. And so to see him doing it now, I think just further emphasizes that he does want to win. And that's one thing that we kind of talked about throughout this entire process when, all the different teams he was tied to. like the Dodgers really, like, as much as yes, they've fallen short in the playoffs, like they do tend to get back there. They do always have a competitive team. And so from that standpoint, like they made the most sense. My concern, like I expressed all along, was just, we already saw also Ohtani do something that people didn't necessarily expect. So was he going to repeat that? And I kind of started to feel that way over the past few days, and especially for a portion of yesterday when there was a report that, he had decided to sign with the Blue Jays and then he was flying to Toronto. But yeah, I mean, here we are, it's, I'm shocked, honestly. I mean, not only that they pulled it off, just because personally I didn't necessarily see it trending this way anymore, but B, like 700 million is crazy. And like you guys just explained, no opt-outs and deferred money so that they can continue building a team. I think that's going to do wonders kind of for the culture, if you will, that we've all talked about several times. That, that as much as these guys are superstars, like they do want to win, and team first is kind of the mentality that's still in place.
And I see lots of questions in the chat about what happens next in Yamamoto. Look, we're going to get to that. Daniel, I'm curious for you. I'm trying to think back as a fan of the Dodgers. And again, winning the World Series in 2020 is the best moment as a Dodgers fan that I've had in my lifetime. Besides that, I'm thinking of comparable moments. Obviously, the trade for Mookie Betts, the announcement that was happening was a big moment. Another one that was less significant on field, but I just remember where I was and the feeling I had when they made the huge blockbuster with the Red Sox that brought Adrian Gonzalez, because it just felt like that was the exclamation point on the end of the McCourt era. And it's like, holy crap, they actually have people that are going to go out and spend money and do this thing. And, look, I'm not saying Adrian Gonzalez and Josh Beckett, Nick Punto as well. No disrespect to Nick Punto.
Carl Crawford, come on.
What's that?
Yep. Carl Crawford, too.
Excuse me, Carl Crawford, too. Just, who could forget Carl Crawford? Apologies to Carl Crawford and his family. But like this moment feels like those are the only two I could possibly think of. And obviously, this is real time. I'm processing this out loud. I can't imagine that like 2 weeks from now, I will look back and not have this moment atop that list.
Yeah, this is easily at the top for me. I mean, I think it's safe to say Ohtani's like arguably the greatest talent of all time. Yeah. And this is the biggest contract, in professional sports history.
Not
essentially,
even close either.
Like this is it right here. I mean, we've been following this for years now. Like we've been hoping for this for years now. The Dodgers themselves have been planning for this for years. I think they deserve some credit as well. Ownership stepping all the way up to 700 million. I don't know what the other offers were to really compare to, but I don't know. Like, I think they deserve some credit for going all the way to 700 million here to get this done. Yeah. And yeah, I think this is it right here. I mean, we're going to get to watch arguably the greatest player ever. We're going to see the rest of his career unfold in front of our eyes alongside Mookie Betts. We're going to see him as the DH this year in the middle of the lineup. And then hopefully by next year, he'll be back on the mound pitching. So, if you're trying to build the best roster possible, Shohei Ohtani is the number one player that you would want on that team. So this is a great day. I'm glad we're all here celebrating. I'm in Vegas here for the Lakers, but I was able to carve out some time here to talk Ohtani, of course, because this is just a monumental day.
Daniel hints at it. If you look ahead for the Dodgers, 2024, 2025, 2026, and 2027, Freddie Freeman, Mookie Betts, Shohei Ohtani, all under contract for the Dodgers. You could go a little further with some of the younger guys who will continue to be under contract as well, guys who are sort of, just scratching the surface of arbitration and pre-arbitration. But if you're just talking, Blake, the middle of a lineup that is going to feature Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, and Shohei Ohtani just offensively for the next 4 seasons. And that's all 3 of them. Then Freddie Freeman's a free agent. You've got Mookie beyond that. And then you've got, obviously, Ohtani well beyond that. On the offensive side of things, again, he's a pitcher. We have to learn as a group here how to talk about a guy who both hits and pitches. But just offensively, knowing those 3 guys, Blake, are locked up for the next 4 full seasons, that's like, we keep saying insane. I'm going to need new synonyms. Like, that's unbelievably amazing.
Yeah, it's easily the top of the lineup in sports in baseball right now. I don't really know any team that's going to compare to that. Like the Braves have Acuna and Olsen and Riley solid, but it just doesn't compare to this. The Yankees brought in Juan Soto, and you get Aaron Judge and Juan Soto up there, but this is 3 elite hitters that are probably all top 10 hitters in the game. And you're adding that to one lineup. Like, they scored 900 runs this year. Like, is 1,000 out of the realm of possibilities this year? Maybe not. Like, I don't think anyone's ready to see how good this offense is going to be. And I don't think you can really have high enough expectations for what they're going to be able to do.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the MVP voting, just for context. Ohtani won the MVP in the American League, and Betts and Freeman finished second and third in the National League voting. So if you're just talking about the top 3 in each league, the Dodgers have 3 of the top 6 at the very least, and it's wild. And then you've got Ohtani, the pitcher. I see some comments in here about the deferrals. Basically, the way that works is the Dodgers are going to pay him $700 million. But as we've learned from many Dodger contract offers in the past, as well as others around the league, you don't necessarily have to structure the money to be paid out only in those 10 years. You can have him as a player for 10 years, but you can stretch the $700 million out, I assume, as far, it's the Bobby Bonilla thing, as far out into the future as you want to. And that money hits your competitive balance tax number in those years. So let's hypothetically say that they spread this $700 million over 20 years. Matt, I believe, or Blake, one of you guys, if you have a better understanding, I believe that the CBT number for Ohtani will be $35 million a year, every year for 20 years, even if he's collecting, even if like he's only playing for the first 10. Blake or Matt, either one, is that accurate?
The CBT number is only going to be based off the years and AAV of the deal. And then after that, it's basically just coming out of the owner's pockets, and it won't really affect them down the line.
Got it. So basically the CBT number will be 70 million a year. So I was mistaken there. It will be 70 million a year, but the owners won't in theory have to pay him the full 70 million those years. So if it's 35 a year for 20 years, theoretically, then that will give them more money to go and pay the tax in the first 10. Is that accurate, Blake?
Yeah, that's
okay.
Right.
Good clarification there. Some super chats. We appreciate it. We saw Meet Me on Main Street. Best birthday ever. Let's go. Laura with a few super chats mentioning the deferred money so we can continue to build. I just love that that's where his head's at. I mean, look, it's $700 million, whether you get it in 10 years or 20 years. I'm not sure from my perspective it really matters, but the fact that he's helping out the Dodgers, Laura adds, this is historical. Blake, we've got somebody that wants a bucket hat, but I appreciate that you've got the World Series trophy hat on as well. Yeah, there we go. See, we got multiple bucket hat options.
There he is.
Yeah, come on now. That's the one way to celebrate. There we go. Perfect. So if we're just looking at this year, guys, as we're kind of coming off of the actual practical implications of this, the money and all of that, just looking at this year, Matt, he's not going to pitch. Ohtani will not pitch. He'll be the designated hitter in 2024. The hope and expectation is that 2025 and beyond, he will return to designated hitter slash pitcher. Is that a fair assessment of where we're at?
Yeah, I think so. It's and I've seen some of the comments questioning the total value of his deal and expressing some concern because he's not pitching next season. And that's fair. And I think it's also fair to have some concern about, what type of pitcher he might be. Like, he's now had basically Tommy John twice. And so, there's some hesitation there with any pitcher, but I think that doesn't mean that you don't sign Ohtani. Obviously, if he quote unquote is only your DH for next season and beyond, then it's fine. Like, the Dodgers do fortunately have a pipeline of young pitching that got plenty of experience this year because of, injuries and all that. And so those guys can kind of mature, continue to develop and take on, maybe some of the rotation front if Ohtani is not maybe at the pitching level that we saw him previously. But also considering what he's already done in his career at the level he's done it, like, who are we to doubt whether he's going to be able to do something effectively, right? Like, I know when he first came over, I wasn't sure if the whole pitching and hitting thing was going to work for him and playing every day, and they figured it out. And so, he not only figured it out, like, he exceeded. And the Angels obviously put together a plan. The Dodgers, I'm sure, laid out their maybe an initial blueprint in the meeting with him, and they prefer their starting pitchers going on extra rest anyway, so there shouldn't be any issues there. But yeah, I mean, it's a significant financial commitment, obviously, but it's one that you have to make, and especially when you look at over recent years. We've discussed it. Blake and I maybe have been the most critical of, who the Dodgers haven't necessarily signed over the past handful of years. And it was kind of always to, it was pointing to this road like, oh, they're waiting for Ohtani. Last offseason, they were a little bit modest and their planning kind of was thrown off course, if you will. And it was because of Ohtani, right? And so now here we are.
I think you make a great point, Matt, and it's something that I think as Dodgers fans, it's a good problem to have. We're going to have to get used to. So often, I think as just human beings, but specifically sports fans, we always want to look to the past as if it is always going to tell us the truth about the future. And I think a lot of times it will. We've never seen somebody like Ohtani. So to kind of just assume that because this happened or that happened, that therefore there's no way this can happen. Like he is already doing and has already done dozens of things that have never been done that people, when he came over, were like, this will never work. He'll never be able to figure this out. He'll never be able to be as great of a hitter and as great of a pitcher. And yet he did. He goes and wins the MVP last year because he had the highest OPS as a hitter and one of the best stat lines as a pitcher as well. And so I think you make a great point, Matt, just as far as how we have to kind of balance those things as well. Scott, the other person I think about today, and maybe I'm the only one, I don't know. I can't wait for the smile on Dave Roberts' face when he comes in the next press conference, and he's got to address it, right? Like, oh, I'm sorry. Am I allowed to talk about Ohtani now, or is that going to cost us something?
Guaranteed he's going to do something like that. That's just like Dave, cool and calm, collected, sunglasses on, maybe just looks in the camera, smiles, we're betting on the person. That's exactly what they did. They're here, and everything they've done for the past few years, Dave Roberts is going to get the coach. You're going to stand on the bench with Shohei Ohtani, Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman. Great day for Dodger Blue. Great day for Dodger baseball, man. And, we're here. Dave Roberts is here.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Blake, as you think about like just kind of the hitter, like let's talk just about the hitter Ohtani. He's a designated hitter. He's penciled in. I think he gets so much attention as a two-way player, Blake, that sometimes we can lose perspective on how good he is at both of those things individually. I just mentioned it. He had the highest OPS in the American League last year. Like this is a guy that I'm not saying he's worth $70 million as a hitter. Okay. I want to be clear, but as a hitter, he's probably worth 40, 45.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, if he was just a DH, he'd probably be looking around that 40 to 45 range. So that's why I said I don't think 70 million a year is like out of question for him, just because when he is a two-way player, it's just unprecedented that he's doing both. And he is an elite hitter and an elite pitcher, but just as a hitter, he kind of does everything you want from an offensive standpoint. He's going to hit homers. He's going to get on base. He's going to take his walks. He has speed. He just really does everything. And it's just, he's such a unique talent. Like we keep bringing that up, but it's true. And that's why we keep bringing it up. And that's why the Dodgers were willing to pay him this much.
Yeah.
And like, it would definitely be an overpay if he never pitches again. But I don't think any of us really believe that's going to happen. The Dodgers don't believe that's going to happen. But even if he is only a DH for whatever reason for the rest of his career, like, yeah, it's an overpay, but he's going to bring you money back. He's going to bring in fans. He's going to bring in jerseys. He's going to give you the best offense in baseball every single year for at least the next 4 years. Well, Freddie Freeman's here as well. And one day he's going to go into the Hall of Fame wearing a Dodger hat. And we're all going to kind of look back on this moment and his 10-year career with the Dodgers. And it's just going to be something like, wow, I can't believe we got to watch that every single day.
Yeah. Daniel, I'm looking at his baseball savant page. He was in the 100th percentile, led Major League Baseball in barrel rate, 99th percentile in average exit velocity, 99th percentile expected slugging percentage, 99th percentile expected weighted on base average, 97th percentile in hard hit rate, 98th percentile in walk rate, 98th percentile just sort of offensively as a hitter overall. That's just as a hitter. This is the guy that the Dodgers are adding. He's 29 years old, by the way. So like, we're not talking about a guy that's anywhere near the downward trajectory. I guess Daniel, am I wrong? Like, I don't feel like people appreciate Ohtani, the hitter, enough because the focus is so much on the two-way thing that I feel like people don't talk enough about how good he is just strictly as a hitter.
Yeah, maybe it's because he played on the West Coast, so all those East Coast people that have been complaining about wanting him to sign on the East Coast, maybe they haven't watched him play that often. I don't really know, but you just laid out the numbers, and he did all that in a lineup where he really had no protection, if we're being honest. Like Mike Trout was there, half the time, I guess. But other than that, they didn't really have anyone. Like you see on the Dodgers, they're probably going to stick him either right in the middle of Mookie and Freddie or right behind Freddie and ahead of like Will Smith or something like that. So he's going to get even better pitches to hit. But yeah, it's not even like exaggeration to say he's the greatest talent like this sport has ever seen. And I think this contract reflects that. Obviously it's a big number, but I do think what it shows is that the Dodgers are willing to kind of fly past the luxury tax. Like I know was kind of a concern, but the fact that they're willing to commit, $70 million to one player, and we all know they still have other needs. Like now they're still going to have to turn and go get an ace caliber starting pitcher. They might need another outfielder. Like there's more money to be spent. So I think this shows that they're willing to spend whatever it takes, to put a winner on the field. And when you have the lineup that you have now with Ohtani in the middle of it, you're in really good shape even without any other moves. I got to take off here. I got to head to the arena, but I just wanted to say congrats to everyone in the comments. Congrats to all of us. We're going to get to cover this guy for the next decade. Should be a good time, but I'm gonna take off. Thanks, guys.
Daniel, I got to put
Lakers,
you on the
baby.
spot. In-season tournament championship or Ohtani to the Dodgers, which is the highlight of the day if the Lakers win tonight?
Ohtani pretty easily, but why not? Why not? Let's have a great day overall and get greedy here and go for both, huh?
Yeah, no, I appreciate the honesty, and hey, you're on the Dodgers. You're on DodgerHeads right now, so you're allowed to say that. So enjoy the game. Sold out in Las Vegas, so make sure you check out Daniel and others on LakersNation.com. So Daniel, thanks for joining us. We appreciate you as well.
Thanks, Daniel.
All right, thanks, guys.
Let's get to some of these super chats. They're flying in. We've gotten a bunch of them, so thank you again. Laura saying this is historical. Absolutely. Jackie, we appreciate. Thanks for all the hard work and coverage. I'm going to be honest. There's been various points at previous days where if this had happened, we may not have been able to pull this off. We appreciate Ohtani. Saturday at noon is, pretty much prime time for us.
Prime time, baby.
Able to hop in. So thank you, Ohtani, for doing that.
Also, Jeff, while you're scrolling, I'll add that Ohtani gets extra points in my book too for waiting until after the college football season has ended. So I'm not missing, any big games right now.
Didn't the USC college football season end a while ago, though, Matt?
Oh, man. It ended a year ago when they kept Alex Grinch on as a defensive coordinator. I think all of us were just hopeful.
Yeah, and Blake, he's saying the college football season's over. You're playing in the playoff. My team's playing in the New Year's Six Bowl. I mean, the disrespect is real from Moreno here.
Yeah, I mean, he's been a little disrespectful throughout the whole process with Ohtani and this, so it doesn't surprise us.
We got Swaggy C, big fish hunting. Corbin Burns next. Scotty.
That's my guy. Hey, man. I mean, this was the pillar that needed to fall for Andrew Friedman, the Dodgers, the rest of their team. Ohtani fills an immediate need right now on both the roster and organizationally. This is not just for the player. This is for the person. This is for the marketing. Next year, hopefully his arm is good in the pitching. But right now, they need a number one. So Ohtani's in there. They can move past that. And we're going to see a lot happen today around baseball trades. A lot more stuff's going to start popping out. I wouldn't be surprised if things are already on deck. Like this might be exactly what everyone was waiting to see. So Corbin Burns, Swaggy C, that's been my guy for a bit. He's one of the most talented arms around Major League Baseball. It's just the prospect cost is huge. He's on a one-year deal, Scott Boras client. So Dodgers aren't afraid to do that type of stuff, expiring contracts, but that's, right up my alley.
Yeah. Emerson, I love this. Blake, you've joked about this. So instead of me paying $2,500 to sit behind home plate, now it's going to be $4,000. LOL, screw it. Well, Blake agreed on our last show. He's willing to pay $10 every game for parking if Ohtani came. So confirmed.
That's not confirmed. I'd pay it once to keep him away from signing with other teams. But yeah, I mean, at least if you're paying $4,000, you get to watch one of the best lineups in baseball history every day. But I don't think them signing Ohtani is really going to be the reason ticket prices increase that much. They increase every year, essentially. It's just kind of how it goes. So they'll probably go up, but I think that's going to be from fans more so buying up tickets. And probably maybe after this year, the hype will die down a little and they'll go back to being a little more normal, even though they're still going to be expensive because it's a Dodger game.
Yeah. Hey, absolutely. Edward, we appreciate the super chat, $3 as well. Dodgers love. It's great to see you guys on this amazing day. Forget us. Forget the four of us and Daniel. It's great to see Shohei Ohtani tweeting about the Dodgers, posting about the Dodgers. So we appreciate it. Blake, thank you guys for being professional and credible. Yeah, I mean, look, and I'll just say this. We're not here or in the business of, we're talking about Shohei Ohtani and the Dodgers. I know there's people in the comments sort of pointing fingers in other places. That's not us. That's not kind of how we do business here. So we appreciate all the support, folks that are joining us live on this regard, but that's just not our style. So we're going to pass on that. Matt, I do think the obvious question is, what now for the Dodgers? Blake has kind of hinted at, well, I shouldn't say this. We've already talked about, they're well over, like the CBT is a thing of the past. And I mentioned that Freddie, Mookie, and Shohei are all under contract for the next 4 years. So they will not be dipping under that number at any point in the next 4 years with $130 million or whatever it exactly is committed to those three guys. So what do the Dodgers do next? Do you think $700 million is going to impact what they do? Like, you know, when we talk about Yamamoto and that number creeping towards 250, 300 million, like, do you think this has a major impact on how Andrew Friedman approaches those situations?
I think it probably will, but also in the sake of, you know, transparency and owning things, I didn't think they would go anywhere near 700 million for Ohtani, and so they've already done that. So maybe, like you said, if they figure they're already past the luxury tax threshold, they might as well just keep going, which is an approach. It is an approach that they have used in the past when they've looked at their payroll and just figured, okay, like, we're just going to spend this year. I still would be shocked if they end up signing Yamamoto if his market does get closer to 300 million. But hey, the Dodgers have already shocked me once, so just do it a second time, I guess, at this point. Yeah. But still, that being said, I think they're more inclined to probably look the route of trades. And, you know, even if it is just for a starting pitcher who's only under team control for 2024, kind of see how that goes and kick the can down the road in terms of maybe other significant expenditures.
Yeah, and Blake, the interesting piece is, obviously, you know, the Dodgers aren't done. They need starting pitching. They have not solved that. We've all argued they need 2 starting pitchers. The tricky part is even the guys available but for trade, Cease, Burns, etc., if they're in years 2 and 3 of arbitration, or 4 if it's a Super 5 or whatever it's called, those aren't cheap contracts. Like, it's not like you're getting guys that are $1.5 million. Like Burns, I'm sure, is projected to earn $25 million or something this year, if not closer to 30. And so how do they, there's not real, I guess my point, Blake, is there's not really an affordable starting pitching option out there. Like, sure, a guy that you trade for will be cheaper, but we're talking about $7 to $10 million cheaper at best. Like, Dylan Cease in year 2 of arbitration is dramatically cheaper than Yamamoto. Burns in year 3 is probably like you're splitting hairs kind of a situation.
I think Cease is projected for $9 million this year, if I'm not mistaken. So that's a way they could go. And I think that's part of the reason they have so much interest in him. But like you said, if you're going to, this has kind of been the point I've argued throughout a lot of my arguments for Yamamoto. If you're going to trade for Burns and you're going to pay him 20 to 25 million this year plus trade prospects, and then you're going to have to probably sign him to a long-term deal next year if you want to keep an ace in your rotation, then why not just give Yamamoto the 30 to 35 million this year, and then you have him for the next 5 years. And as that contract ages, it's not going to look like such a high amount because that's just how contracts go. They keep going up every year. The luxury tax threshold number goes up every year. So paying Yamamoto 30 million or whatever right now, like, it's not going to look like a bad contract. And that's why I still feel like the Dodgers end up with Yamamoto along with Ohtani. And maybe they go and also trade for a starting pitcher because we know they need to. But I think it just makes so much sense from a financial standpoint for this team to actually go add that ace and just pay a free agent where you're going to get a better deal than you're going to get next year if you end up signing Burns. So to me, you just have to go get that ace. Your time to win is right now in these next 4 years while you have Freddie, Mookie, and Ohtani. So you got to do whatever it takes to win. You don't commit 70 million to Ohtani and then stop building from there. You keep being aggressive and you go doing what it takes to win.
Yeah. Scotty, where are you at on this? Because it feels like we just mentioned that 4-year window. Do the Dodgers just push all the chips in and kind of like, well, screw it, like 30 million to Yamamoto, you know, send prospects out for a Rosarena, trade for Dylan C. Like, do they just, Or do they kind of have this measured approach where clearly, I'm not going to say they're halfway in, halfway out. They just gave $700 million to somebody, so they're fully in. But do they kind of have to balance a little bit? Like, how do you see this actually playing out? Do the Dodgers just push all their chips beyond whatever $700 million into the table, into the center prospects, all of it? Or do they kind of say, well, we just gave $700 to Ohtani, so we're going to try and patch together, maybe it's a guy like Imanaga as a starting pitcher. Maybe it's a trade for Cease, and they kind of let Bush or Vargas man left field and kind of make it happen that way.
I think they could do a lot. I think Freeman's going all in here. Like, this is a move where you have Freddie Freeman, who's 34, Mookie Betts is 31. You're in a spot where you definitely need to, squeeze all the juice. We talk about that a lot, that you have to get, as Dodgers do this a ton. And this is a spot where with these superstars, you have to squeeze every little bit you can of this elite, like hyper elite production. 2 top 5 MVP finishers last year, and you're adding reigning MVP from the American League. So this is a spot where you definitely don't take off the gas. That would be, something I don't see them doing. This is all in, man. Like, they have the ability to go all in, and then that'll keep them competitive for that window. And then they can build the farm back up that way. So they can deplete that. And that top end talent's going to bridge that gap. So Friedman's done this before, and he's going to do it right now. Like, this is not the end for what the moves that Andrew Friedman's going to make. Just like Blake said, you need to keep your foot on the gas here. And I really expect them to do just that.
Yeah, let's get to some more super chats here. Matt, the first one, the Dodgers play the Blue Jays in April. You think some extra eyeballs on that one?
That, and, I hope that Ohtani doesn't get booed. It'll be something to watch. I think in every, the quote unquote finalists, maybe every of those stadiums that he visits. I think it's a little bit different with the Blue Jay standpoint because of the different reports that got out yesterday and how close it appeared that he was.
Can you imagine if somebody had reported that Ohtani to the Dodgers 24 hours ago, and then today passing tweets that it's Ohtani to we'd all be so depressed right now.
Yeah. And so I get their fans are probably, disappointed, upset, hurt, however you want to describe it. But I just hope that it doesn't necessarily get taken out on Ohtani, because whether we agreed or disagreed with how private he wanted to keep free agency, that was his intention. It wasn't as though he was all for, a bunch of leaks being out there and he's meeting here and he's meeting there. So, hopefully it doesn't get taken out on him. And I don't want to derail this, but I'm also ready whenever for the Shark Tank segment after yesterday too.
Trust me, the fact that it was the Shark Tank guy on that plane was literally my favorite part of yesterday. All right, we got a big super chat here from Carolina, and I appreciate this because she's kind of playing devil's advocate and zagging a little bit. She says all the money and all the talent in the world doesn't win championships. Good management wins championships. Too much pressure on one individual. I'm shaking my head at this acquisition. I want to start by saying I do think this part about one individual is a fair point. Like, baseball is a game, unlike basketball, I would say, unlike the quarterback position in football, where the impact that one player can have on a franchise, on a season, on a team, I think is relative to other sports less than. Now, if there's one person, obviously Ohtani's impact is going to be outsized once he is both hitting and pitching. But Scott, I'll come to you first. I think there's probably lots of people that can sympathize with what Carolina's saying here, and that if you have questions about Dave Roberts and his abilities to manage a clubhouse, to manage a team, to make decisions, adding Ohtani into that mix doesn't necessarily solve all the problems, and maybe some people would argue even the biggest problem. What do you think about that?
No, it certainly doesn't. But adding the best player we might have seen, I'm probably seen our entire lifetimes to your roster is definitely the move to make. And if he's available, you pay the cost. And in a few years, it's not going to be a drop in the bucket. It'll still be a significant contract, but you're paying for Shohei Ohtani, who does both things. He plays like a superstar hitter. He pitches like a Cy Young. So you're definitely going to be paying that price, and the Dodgers are in the market to do so. So giving Dave Roberts the ability to have as many, pieces to move around, it just makes his job that much easier. And every single October, players got to play. And Shohei Ohtani, his biggest moment has been in the World Baseball Classic. And what did he do there? He performed. So he's going into a situation where he's going to have the opportunity to do that every single year, it seems. So this is a contract that was a no-brainer, Carolina. Like, this is something that
it might look it's the shock value from seeing 700 million. But when you break it down, this is a contract that for paying for exactly who Shohei Ohtani is on the open market for what he's worth, this is exactly, what he should be getting on the open market and in the great place too.
Yeah, and it's fair, I think, Blake, to point out that there's risk with every contract that you sign, and the bigger the number of years and the bigger the dollar number, the risk goes exponentially up. Like they did just sign a guy who half of his game is pitching, and he can't pitch for the next 12 months. And so I think it's fair to be concerned about that. I know Blake's famous line is, "It's not my money, so who cares?" Like if it doesn't work out, it's not my 700 million that is ultimately on the line. But what do you make of this, Blake? Because I do think there's going to be, it is fair to at least, while all of us are over the moon, and this is not a 10 out of 10 transaction, this is a 1,000 out of 10 transaction. Right. It's not to say that it's without risk. It's not to say that it's a guarantee of anything, right?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, every contract has risk, but there's also a risk in not signing him, I'd argue, because you're missing out on that talent and that player. And to go back to answer the question from Carolina a bit, like it's going to add pressure, but is that really a bad thing? Like the expectations are there because they're so talented. And at the end of the day, that's the front office's job to put the best talent and team on the field that they can every single day. So I think we should be celebrating that. And it's going to be up to the players to perform to that pressure, but they've shown in the past they can do it. Ohtani's shown he's been able to do it. He's been dealing with the pressure his entire life, going back to high school. And even before that, is the top player in Japan and the top prospect in Japan. And he's always met that bar. And we've seen Freddie Freeman's been able to meet that, and Will Smith and Max Muncy and even Mookie Betts. It was tough this year and even last year for the Dodgers, but I don't see how adding Ohtani is going to make that worse for them or anything. Like the Dodgers are always going to have pressure no matter who's on their roster. So you just have to kind of embrace that and say, like, yeah, we have this pressure because we're the most talented team and we're going to go out there and win and show it. And I think they'll be able to do that.
And what I would say, kind of in response to Carolina, to put a bow on this, if there's one thing that I don't know how you could argue against sort of being a superpower, if you will, of Dave Roberts, it's kind of exactly what you just talked about, Blake. It's the fact that every single year he has managed a team with outsized expectations, with huge amounts of pressure, with star power everywhere in the clubhouse. And while none of us are disputing that the October results haven't been what we have hoped for the last couple of years, especially, I think his ability to manage a clubhouse, to not allow a team and a franchise to cave under pressure, is what he is best at. And so in some ways, you could argue that he's kind of the perfect manager to hand over a team like this to, and just to let these guys go out and play, to keep the energy loose so that guys can perform to the best of their abilities. And so we'll see how this translates. Again, to be clear, we're all thrilled, over the moon, A++ signing from all of us, I would imagine. And yet we're also realistic in saying this doesn't mean, the Dodgers are guaranteed of anything this upcoming year, other than when everybody's healthy, it's going to be a whole heck of a lot of fun. Let's get to some more super chats. Ismail, is this the end of Yorbeat Vivas or Andy Pages? Haha. Look, the Dodgers have, I believe, 2 reported signings in Joe Kelly and Ohtani that they don't have room for on the 40-man roster. So there is movement coming up. Am I right on that? And Hayward's not official yet either, right, Blake? Where are we at on the 40-man?
Hayward's official, and he filled the 40-man. So
okay,
they signed Hayward officially right before the Rule 5 draft, so then they weren't able to make any picks there if they wanted to, because it filled their 40-man. But they're going to have to make a trade or move some people to make this official. I wouldn't be shocked if we hear about a trade in the next 24 hours even.
Yeah.
Like, it's probably going to happen. If not, they'll probably end up designating someone like Brian Hudson for assignment. I mean, that's the cost of doing business. Sorry to Brian Hudson, but I think we're all a little more excited about Ohtani and are willing to accept that.
Well, and Matt, we've talked about, like, Andrew Friedman's comments before the winter meetings, his comments after the winter meetings was, hey, there's been a lot of momentum. There's a lot of clarity. So do you agree with Blake that in the next 12 to 24 hours, now that the Ohtani domino has fallen, things are going to start happening? Or do you think that there's still a massive domino in Yamamoto that's probably going to hold up a lot of movement?
Yeah, I think some stuff you'll see. I think we'll see more movement in general, but I don't think it'll be maybe the flurry of activity until after Yamamoto sort of decides. And he needs to obviously start meeting with teams in person over here stateside and then make his decision. And once that's done, then I think we'll see just everything sort of pick up across the board.
Yeah.
But I mean, in terms of the Dodgers, like maybe there are, smaller things that they have kind of been working on that's under the radar. Obviously, it wouldn't surprise me if they sign, an outfield or maybe trade for one of these outfielders that they've been connected to over the past several days. So yeah, maybe they'll do some of the minor stuff, but I think Yamamoto is still the next big piece. And once he signs, then I think we'll see more activity across the board.
Yeah, maybe more movement on the offensive side of things, position players starting to come off the board. But I agree. I think the pitching side may stay a little bit longer. Paul Scott has got an interesting theory here. What about Shohei Ohtani becoming closer when he can pitch again? Obviously, closers, like he points out, Kenley Jansen, Craig Kimbrell, making a lot of money. He can affect more games when pitching, complicates things with the DH. I'm not exactly sure how all that would work, but any chance that Ohtani goes to the bullpen, or is he a starter for the foreseeable future?
No, Ohtani's a starter. He's going to remain that way. There's just, unless it's like at the, maybe the last year of this contract, there's just his value is, you know what I mean? Like that's so far.
Yeah.
His value is as a starting pitcher, and he's going to be that. He's one of the best in the league. And I can't wait for Mark Pryor to get with him. Let's get him in the building. Work on that rehab. Make sure it's all good to go.
I think you meant the lab, Scott.
Get him in the lab. Get him in the lab. Let's get him on that path back to being healthy and get him in the Pryor lab. And I know Blake's got his favorite video. Mark Pryor, man, he's a wizard. So I'm excited. But no shot of him being of the closer. That just kind of diminishes his value greatly. Let's get him out there. We need an ace, and going into 2025, barring any setbacks or anything like that, he's going to be right at the top there. And he's a hell of a watch when he's on the mound. He's an ability to carve up hitters. He's the number one. He is a number one.
Blake, we got another one here from our friend Pizza in the Box. Yamamoto can be advertised with Ohtani in the Japanese market for TV subscription. Goes crazy. The money is there. With all due respect to Yamamoto, I think they've probably just clinched the Japanese market by just simply signing Ohtani. And this is something I've long talked about, Blake, in that the value, we can look at 700 million and that's crazy. He's probably worth over the next 10 years, like 500 million in just off the field value. You could probably make the case just from a marketing perspective, from an exposure perspective, from all of it. And so adding Yamamoto, of course, would be the cherry on top. But I actually, my response when I look at this, Blake, is I actually don't think Yamamoto might have less value to the Dodgers than other teams from an off the field marketing perspective because they've already got Ohtani. Oh, you're muted, Blake.
You're muted.
Nope. Matt, what do you think about that? What do you like? I mean, just from a marketing perspective, there's value in Ohtani.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if they were to add Yamamoto on top of Ohtani, then it would certainly their return would be multiplied tenfold. But with Ohtani alone, and had they only signed Yamamoto alone, like there was going to be money there in that regard. Of the two, though, no disrespect to Yamamoto, I think Ohtani is the bigger draw. But yeah, I mean, look, like we've discussed kind of at different points throughout the show, you've already spent the money on one player, like might as well just keep going past the luxury tax and get Yamamoto as well, and then sort of add on to your ROI.
Another huge super chat here from Trust Genius. Thank you so much. $20. Scott, going back to something we kind of hinted at the beginning of the show, he said, this is the greatest day in Dodger history and will bring so much other talent to LA that will want to be on a winning team. We know that's a big deal in basketball, that you can get guys that come over because they want to win. Do you see that happening in Los Angeles now that Ohtani's on board?
I absolutely do. Just like Ohtani, the draw to the organization. Ohtani, his contract, he wants to make sure that like the team that he's on continues to be a sustainable winning environment. And what he brings there, he brings a certain tenacity, a focus to it. And that's something that the Dodgers roster and the organization is going to benefit from. And I definitely see, he's a spectacle. He's Blake likes to call him, he's a unicorn. You want to be with that player. You want to be with the best. You've seen players speak so highly of Clayton Kershaw and their time with the Dodgers organization and what they can do. So not only were the Dodgers an attractive spot beforehand, now you've got Shohei Ohtani there. I'm not saying that players are going to take discounts to be with the Dodgers, but certainly it's going to make, it's going to open that window now. Now I've got Shohei Ohtani out there. What can I learn? Who can I be around? And you players appreciate everybody's game. They're fans of each other. So it's definitely going to attract some more. We don't know how much it will, but you're definitely going to be seeing some guys, a lot of chatter saying, Shohei Ohtani's out west. Maybe we'll go join him. It will happen. That will be like a talking point for some guys, and might be up soon, man. Might be coming on the way.
Jeff, now you're muted.
We think we got Blake's mic situation sorted out.
I think so.
There we go.
There we go. We're perfect.
There we go.
I'm curious. Like, I'm thinking on one hand, how many people would love to be able to tell their grandkids, hey, I played with Shohei Ohtani. I mean, as well as Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, all that. On the other hand, I wonder if there's some guys that will the microscope scare anyone away? I mean, the number of media people that are going to be flooding to every Dodgers game, home and road from here on out, is going to be absolutely insane. I mean, I was even listening to a basketball podcast talking about how the Pacers, like, nobody covers the Pacers when they're on the road. They go to these press conferences. There's like 3 people in. They go to the in-season tournament. They show up in Las Vegas, and there's like 150 people in the locker room covering it. Do you think this is on from that regard? Is it more of a net positive because guys are going to say, this is one of the greatest of all time, I want to play with him? Or do you think there might be some guys that say, I'm not sure I want to be under that microscope?
I think there's going to be both of those situations coming up, and I think that's a good thing. You're going to bring in talented players who want to play with the best and want to be on the best stage, and you might scare away the players who don't really want that and just kind of want to go through it all and get their money and head out. So I think that's great for the Dodgers, and they're going to be in the postseason pretty much every year. We know that they're going to do that. They've shown that even without Ohtani. So when you go and you get the players who want to be on the big stage, I think that's something they need and something that'll bring some life into the organization and the team. And yeah, it's exciting. Like, hopefully we get more players who want to come play with Ohtani. Hopefully Yamamoto is one of those players. So we'll see.
Yeah. Hey, well, Blake said that it was an utter failure if both Ohtani and Yamamoto didn't come. So we've checked off box number 1, at least on that list. Matt, we've got Highway Hermit here. Dodgers, Rangers, World Series 2024. We like that?
I think one of those teams is a safer bet to get there than the other, and I'll just leave it at that. You guys can try to guess who I'm referring to.
Jeez Louise, this guy over here.
Fan, Matt.
Yeah, we know he's a big Seeger guy, so I think he's showing his cards there. Let's get into kind of just some of the practical stuff. I've seen a couple people mentioning this in the comments. Let's chat about where, like, kind of what does the Dodgers offense look like this upcoming season? We know there's been lots of talk about who bats where and the way that they structure things. Looking at Ohtani and kind of where he batted last year, it looks like he batted first, second, and third. Those were kind of the 3 places he hit. First was almost never. It looks like about 50% of the time he batted second, 50% of the time he batted third. Obviously, Scott and Blake, you guys were plugged in a little bit more on some of the Angels coverage. Is that about right, Scott? Second and third, kind of where Ohtani tended to sit?
Yes.
Okay. So how does this play out if you're the Dodgers then? Mookie Betts in the leadoff spot feels like it's a safe bet. They've got Freddie Freeman that was kind of up near the top. You've got Will Smith. You've got Max Muncy. You got, those 4, I would imagine, are kind of the guys at the top of the batting order. So, Scott, if it were up to you, how do you see those 4 guys sort of getting penciled into the lineup?
Top 4 for me would be, Mookie Betts. I would go Shohei in the 2 spot, Freddie Freeman 3, Will Smith 4, barring anything else. Will Smith 4, man. Yeah.
Okay. You said barring there, and you terrified me that Barnes was about to be the word out of your mouth. And
you want it to be. I mean, ask
Matt.
He might want that,
Yeah, well, it's true. I shouldn't pencil Will Smith maybe into the lineup yet, Moreno. So give me your 4. Mookie first, it seems like. I'm guessing we all agree. Are you moving Freddie out of the 2 spot?
I might even zag with Mookie a little bit, and it's going to factor in the Dodgers wanting to do the right, left stuff. So there are a few things. There's that. There's also the aspect of I think Freeman is probably most comfortable hitting second, so that'll be kind of interesting. But there doesn't really seem to be. I don't know if they put Ohtani third, so I wonder if maybe they at least try it. Ohtani as your leadoff hitter, Mookie second, Freeman third, and then Will Smith fourth, unless it's Austin Barnes day.
Which, yeah, hopefully it's never.
There was a span last year that Ohtani did lead off just a tiny bit. They did try that out a little bit. I'm checking to see how he did, but it did happen.
Yeah, I
Well,
was looking at his Fangraphs thing, and it said he took like, it was like he had 80 pitches as a leadoff hitter. So trying to, it's a small sample size. Blake, Matt makes a good point. They tend to like this right left. You've got Mookie and Will Smith as righties. You've got Freddie Freeman and Ohtani. Part of me thinks, who cares about the splits when it's Freddie Freeman and Shohei Ohtani? These guys are just going to hit. So I don't know. But we also know the Dodgers kind of obsessed is maybe a strong word. Maybe it's too light of a word. I don't know about the right left thing. So do you think that plays a role?
I think it might play a role, and I do really like the idea of Ohtani leading off, just because getting him the most at bats, he's the best hitter on this team now. I think that's something you should try and prioritize, but I think it's going to play out with Mookie leading off, Ohtani hitting second, and Freeman hitting third. That gives you your best three hitters getting the most at bats. They're all elite hitters versus righty or lefty, so you don't really have to worry about those splits as much.
Yeah.
And then you also have a little more speed at the top of your lineup with Ohtani and Mookie there, instead of kind of breaking that speed up with Freddie and possibly slowing them down on the bases. So for me, like any order of the three is really fine, but I think it's just going to play out with Mookie leading off and then Ohtani second.
Yeah, I my thing is just I think it's those three, Mookie, Freddie, and Ohtani have to be the top three in some order. I just think getting those three guys as many at bats as possible. Mookie has performed well as a leadoff guy, so I wouldn't mess with that. So I'd put Mookie one, and then wherever. I agree. I mean, I like the idea of Shohei in the second spot because of what you said. Then Freddie's not kind of clogging the bases. Although, come on, great base runner. Great base runner, even if the sprint speed's not necessarily there. But that just kind of makes sense to me. I could see Freddie being a great number three hitter there because he's got a guy or two on and he's bat to ball. And he kind of, it's not, you don't have to worry about the swing and miss quite as much with him. Although his whiff rate is not awesome and his strikeout rate. Those are two things that if there's a negative part of his offensive game for Ohtani, I should say, it's that. But Freddie kind of can do that. We got another super chat here from Brian. I'm an Ohtani fan. Does not matter what team he's on. Congrats to the Dodgers. This is the only way we would ever put somebody with a picture of a Padre player on there. Although Victor Acosta, I think we can make room for a Victor Acosta picture up here. Scott, I think there's going to be a lot of folks like this that just love Ohtani and are going to be far more interested in the Dodgers now than they were.
Yeah, exactly. This is Brian. Thank you for that super chat. This is exactly, what the Dodgers organization is looking for. Fans of the player, fans of the person, overseas fans, people are going to be Dodger fans. They're going to be rooting for Ohtani's success. And that's it, guys. That's exactly what they're going for. This is Shohei Ohtani, who he is. He is a likable player. He is a global icon in the baseball world. So he's one of the best all time. He'll continue to play like that. And yeah, that's it in a microcosm. This is the root of it. So it's exciting. This is a big moment. I'm kind of taken aback.
Yeah, it's crazy to put in perspective because it almost feels easy to get on here and say, hey, the Dodgers signed Freddie Freeman. We know who Freddie Freeman is. We understand the context, all of that. You get a guy like Ohtani, it's impossible to understand the gravity of what just happened, both internationally from a marketing fan perspective, but also just on the field. Because again, I don't even know if an Angels diehard fans could wrap their head around what they really had in a guy who played two ways like Ohtani did. And yet here we are now as Dodger fans kind of trying to navigate that. And then on top of it, you have this $700 million number, which makes no sense. We have no category for it. And so it's a crazy day. This chat made me laugh. Kayatone, thank you for the super chat. Canada just got Kawhi Leonarded again. So tough day for the folks to the north. We got to check in. Can we get Matt? We'll get IT on, maybe seeing what the morning show in Canada, how they're doing today. Maybe Jerry Hairston.
What's up, Sid?
Yeah, exactly. Maybe Sid's got. Can we get an update from Sid on the poutine and how things are going up to our neighbors to the north? I think is a fair question. But Matt, you've had an hour to process this now. Just give me like a summary of where your head is at.
Surprised still. Happy for the fans because and to be honest, us also, because I think we were going to deal with a lot of backlash had they not signed Ohtani. And I know we, privately off air discussed how much blame is going to get placed on Dave Roberts. Are people going to really be calling for him to be fired now? Because fair or not, the perception was going to be him revealing the meeting during the the winter meetings, I think was going to be taken as he was a leak, and Ohtani's camp was pretty clear about how they wanted that stuff handled. I think we've had great comments and feedback in the chat in terms of lineup stuff, and I saw we were just discussing that there was some people saying maybe Ohtani should bat cleanup, and I think that's kind of fair if they want to stick to the right left thing, but also I don't know if you want somebody of Ohtani's caliber batting fourth, because as the nerd stats that Scott and Blake like to use, number of at bats are diminished the lower you hit in the order. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think just the best way still to sum it up is surprise. As much as I knew the Dodgers were sort of mentioned as a favorite and a longtime favorite, like I continue to express on here, like I still wondered and worried if Ohtani was going to pivot again and not do what everybody was expecting him to do.
Yeah. Gavin Lux tweeting, I woke up from a nap, ... and bang, all caps, LFG. I'm sure the Dodgers, there's going to be a lot of folks in Dodgers uniforms. I can only imagine what the back channel Dodger group texts look like right now. I see in the comments, Terry saying, I'm a new subscriber as of today. I was an Angel fan because of Ohtani. I'm now a Dodger fan for that reason. I think you'll be generating a lot of new followers. I'm liking your shows. Thank you, Terry. We appreciate it. If you are new, if you're an Ohtani fan, if you're a baseball fan, or if you're a Dodger fan who's just finding us today, please subscribe, ring the notification bell right here on YouTube. We've got live shows multiple times a week. We react live to breaking news like this. We've also got short videos that come out, DodgerBlue.com, tons of content there. And if you're a podcast person, some of you may be listening to this after the fact, the DodgerHeads podcast, you can find us on Apple, Spotify, and Google. Rate and review, follow. We'd greatly appreciate it. Looking for some more super chats. We've got tons of these, so thank you. Matthew Zimmerman, let's go blue, $10 super chat. I mean, that's a great summary. It's a great day to be a Dodgers fan. Matthew, we agree with you. Here we go. Tank says, I hope you're ready for that Japanese cash. I'll start. So thank you, Tank. We appreciate that as well. We'll take
got the conversion on that.
Yeah, I don't even know, but YouTube will do the work for us.
There we go.
Yeah, somebody's going to look that up. Maybe it's a big number, maybe it's a small number. Who knows? We're going to learn. We'll learn. We'll be able to convert that in our head in about a few weeks. But it should be that'll be a good barometer of how many people we add from that kind of thing. So thank you for that as well. Tons of super chats coming in. Everybody's excited today for the Dodgers. I do see some comments. Scott, are you going to be okay? JD Martinez, his time with the Dodgers coming to an end. Like, I mean, I don't mean to put a damper on what's been a great day, but you're going to be okay, JD?
Yeah, I just got to think of the memories. That highlight tape's going to be something. I'll have that replaying at my funeral, right? Just a little video around the clock. But what an experience with JD. Yeah, definitely be missed. He had a great little stop with the Dodgers. So that was fun stuff. There's been a lot linked with the Angels. I mean, that would be a great spot for him. They need a DH. He's still elite hitter. I would think that some contender would definitely love to have him. But yeah, man, I'll miss him with the Dodgers. I'm sure a lot of Dodger fans will too. He was just as productive as it gets. Goes out all-star 1-year deal. Took less money because he wanted to be a Dodger, play with Mookie Betts. I don't know, man. We might be seeing more of that.
Hey, maybe we shouldn't close the door on JD yet. He might dust off his left field glove and prove to the Dodgers.
JD, elite bench bat?
Does he have a glove?
He does have. I know on SportsCenter, like in spring training, they were following him because obviously he was one of the new signings, and teammates were giving him a hard time. And he did say that he has multiple gloves. I think
multiple. There you go,
Scotty. Who's that bobblehead from? Let's give them a shout out.
Shout out to Matt.
No, not
appreciate.
No.
Who? Oh, my bad. Okay. Shout out to Foco, man. They put out some insane stuff. I wasn't a bobblehead collector before, we started getting these, and I'm a bobblehead guy now.
There you go.
Jeff hooked me up with a ton. I've got this Mookie Bank one. My guy, look at this. Nora put the little sunglasses on him. It's just good stuff, man. We love Foco.
Here, I'll put
I am Donovan with a super chat here. And I mean, this one hurts me to say, but I did chuckle a little bit. He said, Lux said, great news. Does he know he's going to Milwaukee? I mean, come on. The guy's just having a good day, Donovan. And you're coming
nice old nap.
There's rumors of Lux potentially being involved in a Willy Adames, Corbin Burns type trade. But I don't know, Blake. That feels unnecessary on a day like today.
I mean, I will say Lux was not the only one taking a nap at the time. I'm not going to name any other names, but may have been someone on this show.
That's why you had the backwards hat on, huh? Hair's all ruffled.
Maybe. But
I love it. I love it.
Yeah. I mean, I've been hoping they do bring in Willy Adames because I do think Lux would be better at second base than he would be at shortstop. But then Dave came out and said Mookie's going to be their second baseman. So yeah, maybe Lux ends up going to Wisconsin. But yeah, let's let him have some fun for today.
Matt, we've got a new term we're going to have to learn here. Happy day for the Dodgers. I sub because of Ohtani.
Shohei
girl for life. Also, what are the chances of signing Yamamoto after this? So, Matt, 2 questions. 1, are you a Shohei? And 2, what are the chances of signing Yamamoto?
I'm not a Shohei, but I think we can start using that maybe in our social posts and when we're on our live videos.
Perfect.
Yamamoto, like I've said all along, once his market started, it seems like it's kind of crept up closer to 300 million than 200 million. That has put doubt in my head as to whether or not the Dodgers would go there. Blake has made some excellent counterpoints throughout this time. And I mean, I'm still sort of torn. Like, I don't necessarily see it, but again, like, they are past the luxury tax threshold and there's no turning back now. So why not just continue stockpiling talent? Because they do, as we've seen, I've seen, reading the comments, as great of a signing as Ohtani is, like, he is not pitching in 2024 and the Dodgers still need pitching. Like, they haven't addressed that at all this offseason, unless, Ricky Vanasco, I guess, was re-signed, but I don't see him necessarily coming up and making a huge impact. And I guess they also added Chris Matt too, who I didn't realize. So at the major league level, he's been a relief pitcher, but down in the minors this year and in the winter league, he's been starting too. So I don't know if the Dodgers are signing him to potentially be a swingman, but regardless of what their plans are for him, they need at least one ace pitcher. And so that could be Yamamoto. And if, hey, you've already spent the money now, then just keep going.
So, Blake, looking ahead, I mean, this year they've got Walker Buehler, Ryan Pepio, Bobby Miller as kind of 3 guys that I think we feel some levels of confidence about. Obviously, Buehler coming back from injury, but we know the success he's had. Those 3 guys being in a starting rotation, I don't think any of us have issue with. Emmett Sheehan would be 4th on that list, a young guy who had a pretty promising rookie season, but limited sample size. You've also got prospects like Landon Knack, Michael Grove, etc. Garborough is in that mix. So there's clearly a need. I'm thinking fast forward 2025, 2026. Ohtani's now in the rotation. Buehler potentially gone. But you've got Ohtani. You've got Bobby Miller for the next few years. You've got Emmett Sheehan for the next few years. You've got Ryan Pepio for the next few years. You've got River Ryan. You've got all these types of players. Obviously, Walker Buehler could be re-signed. The Dodgers have a massive need for starting pitching this year, but is there any chance the Dodgers look at a signing like Yamamoto and say they maybe don't see the desperate need to make a 7, 8, 10-year commitment to a starting pitcher just because of the talent that's coming up?
I mean, there's a chance, but I think every time you're looking ahead, and even for a rotation specifically, it's just so hard to project. Like, if you look back to what the Dodgers were projected to have this year from even 5 years ago, it's just completely different. Yeah. So I think anytime you can add a talent of his caliber as a possibility to your team, like, you go and take that opportunity, because he's probably not going to be available again in 5 years or 10 years. He might have an opt-out and become available, but then his contract's probably going to be even higher if he's using that opt-out. So when you have the opportunity to go add talent, you have to do it, especially when the need is there, specifically right now. So I think they're going to be aggressive trying to add starting pitchers. I am still hoping it's Yamamoto, and I think they have a good chance of signing him. But it also wouldn't shock me if they go out and make 2 trades to bring in starting pitchers, because they're going to add starting pitchers this offseason, and they need at least one person who can pitch at the top of the rotation. So I'm just hoping it's Yamamoto, and I have some confidence there, but we'll see.
So, Blake, let me just follow up real quick. If the Dodgers, we've talked mostly about the Dodgers needing multiple starting pitchers. If you were given the choice between Yamamoto and that's it on the starting pitching side, or kind of pressing through, because I see comments, by the way, Dustin May, Tony Gonsolin are guys that beyond this upcoming year would be available as well. Like, do you think there's a case to be made saying, hey, just push all your chips in on Yamamoto, $275 million, whatever the number is, sign him, and then kind of just patch it together on the back of the starting rotation with Gavin Stones and the Michael Groves and the Ryan Yarboroughs of the world? Maybe there's a minor league signing or a low-level signing to just kind of patch it together. Or would you prefer them to maybe go out and get a Dylan Cease and Imanaga, like 2 guys that maybe don't rise to the level of a Yamamoto, but gives them more quantity over quality.
For me, I'd always prefer to get the best player available over the depth because that's how you have to build your team from, especially when the bar is so high from the Dodgers. You're always looking for those talents who can bring them to the next level, and I think Yamamoto is that.
Yeah.
It would be easier to find someone to bring you Imanaga level production than it would be to find someone to bring you Yamamoto level production. So I think they would be okay with Yamamoto, Bueller, Miller, Pepio, and then maybe Sheehan or Grove or whoever else in that 5 spot,
Yeah.
as opposed to having to go out and get someone else to fill that spot. And even then, if they sign Yamamoto, they could still bring in a lower end guy, like maybe a Seth Lugo we've talked about they've had some interest in. And even if it's not Seth Lugo, I'm just throwing him out as a name, Jeff. You don't have to laugh.
You love you some Seth Lugo. So
I saw today that reports that Seth Lugo could be getting like 3-year contract offers, and I did think of Blake, and I thought, man, it was before the Ohtani stuff. I thought, man, if the Dodgers do 3 years for Seth Lugo, I'm going to lose it.
Trade rumors had him, I believe, at 3 years, $42 million. That was the projection.
I think it's fair for him, but I'd probably be out on 3 years. I think they'd go after like Giolito for 1 or 2 years over that. So if you bring in Yamamoto and Giolito and you get Ohtani this offseason, I think we're all happy there. Of course, it'd be nice to also add a Cease or a Burns, but I think just adding Yamamoto like really just completes this offseason. And that's just kind of how I view it. You could, if you only get Yamamoto, you could always go make a trade at the trade deadline, but the odds that you're going to be able to get someone like Yamamoto at the trade deadline aren't possible. So just go get him now and complete this team and get ready to roll.
I actually love that idea. Yamamoto, get Giolito on like a 1-year deal. He's probably what, $8 to $10 million that he's coming off of the year he just had, maybe a Lance Lynn type deal. I kind of like that idea. Matt, there was an interesting story that I guess like was sort of a potential story that is now a story. Joe Kelly and the number 17. Talk us through kind of where that story lies and who gets what number.
Yeah, so I guess, maybe a couple weeks ago, 3 weeks ago type thing, he was on his Baseball Isn't Boring, or I guess it's not his podcast, but he's affiliated with those guys, with Rob Bradford. So he was on Rob Bradford's podcast, and it kind of got brought up as to whether he'd be willing to give up 17. And Kelly sort of joked like, well, I do have more service time. And then he said, well, actually, there's his house is undergoing renovation. So he said he'll send Ohtani his contractor's bill, and if he paid, I think he said like an eighth of it or something, then fine, it'd be like all set and stuff like that. Then his wife she put together a video of her 17 stuff that had obviously Kelly's name on it, and she was basically saying like, Ohtani, like, your family can take this, like, it's fine, like, and it was a fun video. She said their son that they just had, I think 4 months ago or something, was now named, his name is Kai, but she said he's named Shokai now. So she was doing some heavy recruiting to get Ohtani. So my guess is that Ohtani will be wearing 17. I think I'm sure Kelly will be compensated for it. The real loser in all this, the biggest loser, is Miguel Vargas, who had 17 for a couple months, it seemed like, and then never again.
Yeah. Scotty, I'm guessing the price just went up. Right, Joe Kelly saw that 700 million number, and he said 1/8 of the contractor's bill just went up to 1/2 of that contractor's bill.
100%. I'm just keep thinking that I'm gonna have to. What am I gonna do with my 17 Joe Kelly jersey now? You know what? I'm unwavering. I'm gonna rock that thing. So I'll just have to get a new one, I guess.
Just do the duct tape, Ohtani over the top.
Show some respect. Show
Ohtani.
some respect.
It's Ohtani. There we go.
Joe Kelly.
Well, hey, we appreciate everybody joining us. It's been a great show, and we've had tons of great content. So thank you so much for joining us. We kind of usually end with a little bit of a lighthearted conversation, and so we'll end on that note. It's 1:36. We've been doing this show basically starting at noon. I know some of us are starting to get hungry. Matt, what's the celebration meal that you go from here? I mean, are we eating Japanese, or are we just eating what's nearby?
Maybe I guess both of those. I have both those options near. Like Japanese is sort of nearby, so maybe I should do that. But honestly, I'm kind of craving Raising Cane's. I haven't had that in a while, so maybe I'll do that.
Blake, we got a little avocado and cream cheese roll coming down the pike for in the Williams household.
I mean, Ohtani decided to stay in Southern California, so maybe we go celebrate with the Southern California tradition and get some In-N-Out. That kind of sounds good.
No complaints there. Scotty, little what do we got going on there? Grilled cheese, maybe?
gonna get some sushi. I'm gonna stop and I'm gonna get probably a burrito tonight. It's gonna be a big day for me. Big day.
Breakfast burrito, right?
Yes.
Oh yeah, breakfast burrito. That sounds fantastic. Yeah, I got to figure it out. I don't know what my my celebration meal. When you got small kids running around. I mean, Scott knows this. It's just like it's a free for all on food, and you're just trying
Whatever you guess, what you get.
Yeah, you're just trying to keep your head above water.
How it
basically.
goes.
So that's where we're at. We got one more super chat here. Ohtani's going to play for the Raiders next. Let's keep him away from contact. I'm a Raiders fan, but let's protect the guy. Put him in bubble wrap. We don't need him playing football, but we appreciate the super chat. So, hey, everybody, thanks so much for joining us. I believe the biggest show we've ever had, over 3,200 people at its peak live watching with us. So again, if you're new, please subscribe. Tons of great content, tons of Ohtani content, obviously, coming in the days and weeks ahead. We will be live tomorrow night, Sunday night, around 9 o'clock. It'll be a little later show tomorrow, but we will be live tomorrow night. So make sure you join us for that. We'll be giving the 24-hour report after this, and who knows, a bunch of us are expecting some moves to come, maybe start to trickle in over the next 24 hours. So we'll have tons of stuff to follow there. That is Matthew Moreno. That is Blake Williams. That is Scott Geirman. I am Jeff Spiegel. As always, we appreciate you all. Check out DodgerBlue.com for the latest. I'm sure any insights or news that leaks about the contract and details on the deferrals, we'll have those there. So enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy the rest of your night. We'll see you soon, as always. And especially today after Shohei Ohtani signs, go Dodgers.